Tash, the cruel daughter-in-law, pushed her mother-in-law into the sea, but karma came back fast. A heartless daughter-in-law actually pushed her own mother-in-law into the sea. But what happened next was something no one could have expected. One day, just like usual, the elderly mother-in-law and her daughter-in-law, Guihua, took a small boat out to the shallow sea to collect seafood. On their way home, when no one was around, Guihua suddenly did something unthinkable. She shoved her mother-in-law into the ocean. And even after that, she still wasn't satisfied. Pointing at the spot where the old woman had fallen, she cursed loudly. "You old burden, if it weren't for you dragging us down, my son and I would have already been living a good life with Ahai." That evening, Ahai returned home from fishing with his young son, Xiaoyu. As soon as they stepped through the door, Xiaoyu shouted, "Grandma, Grandma, we're back!" Guihua quickly came forward with a smile and said, "Mother said she wanted to gather more seafood today, so she'll be back later. I already cooked the fish. Let's eat first." Ahai frowned and said, "We should wait for Mother and eat together." But Guihua replied, "If the fish gets cold, it'll taste too fishy. We can just heat it up again when she comes back." Seeing that his son was already hungry, Ahai didn't insist, but what no one knew was the old woman had not drowned. The waves had swept her into a rocky tide pool, where she became trapped between narrow stone crevices. She screamed until her voice grew hoarse, but no one could hear her. With no way out, she survived by drinking seawater and licking the seaweed growing on the rocks just to stay alive. She struggled like that for 3 long days. Just when she was about to lose all hope, she suddenly saw a flash of golden light swimming toward her. To her shock, it was the golden carp she had once saved and released back into the water. The carp swam in front of her, flicked its tail a few times, then turned and swam away as if trying to lead someone. At that very moment, Ahai happened to be nearby fixing his fishing net. He noticed the golden carp repeatedly jumping in his direction, almost as if it was trying to get his attention. Feeling that something was strange, he followed it, and soon enough he discovered his mother trapped inside the rocky tide pool. He quickly climbed down, rescued her, and carried her home. After returning, old Madame Zhang remained unconscious for several days before finally waking up. Guihua, feeling guilty and afraid, pretended to care for her at the bedside. With red eyes, Ahai held his mother's hand and asked softly, "Mother, how did you fall into the sea?" The old woman glanced at Guihua's tense expression, then gently squeezed her son's hand and said, "I'm old now. I lost my balance on the boat and slipped." Hearing that, Guihua secretly let out a breath of relief. But deep down, she thought, "That old woman is harder to kill than I thought. I'll have to find another way." 2 days later, Guihua deliberately made some osmanthus cakes, but this time she secretly mixed poison into the cake meant for her mother-in-law. At that same moment, out at sea, the golden carp suddenly slapped the water with its tail, splashing Ahai from head to toe while he was fishing. Then, incredibly, the golden carp spoke. It said, "Ahai, your wife has poisoned the yellow osmanthus cake meant for your mother. The white cakes are safe for you and your son. Do not let your mother eat the yellow one." Ahai immediately rushed back home. When he entered the house, he saw Guihua holding the tray of cakes and smiling sweetly. She said, "Dear, I specially made these soft osmanthus cakes for Mother. They'll be easier for her to digest. We can eat the white ones and let Mother have the yellow one." Without saying a word, Ahai picked up one of the yellow cakes and tossed it to the little yellow dog following behind him. Not long after eating it, the dog collapsed and died. Ahai turned around and slapped Guihua across the face. "You vicious woman, what did my mother ever do to you? How could you try to kill her?" Guihua burst into tears and begged for forgiveness. But that very night, Ahai wrote her a divorce letter and drove her out of the house. The next morning, the golden carp led Ahai to a rocky area by the shore. Using its head, it pushed open a hidden crack in the stone. Inside was a small box filled with gold ingots. Ahai was stunned, but then he saw that the golden carp was already weak and barely able to move. With its last strength, it said, "Your mother once saved my life. I owed her 3 debts of gratitude. The first was leading you to the tide pool so you could rescue her. The second was exposing the poisoned cake. And the third is this box of gold. Now I have repaid my debt. It is time for me to leave." After saying those words, the golden carp slowly sank into the sea and never moved again. Ahai buried the golden carp beside that rocky shore. He even carved a stone tablet in its honor to remember the kindness and loyalty it had shown. Later, Ahai used the gold to repair the family home, care for his mother, raise his son, and help the villagers whenever they were in need. He spent the rest of his life doing good deeds, and in return, his family was blessed with lasting peace and fortune. And may everyone listening to this story share in that blessing. May your family live in harmony. May all things go smoothly for you, and may you always have abundance year after year.